teaching you the art of industrial real estate. This is On Air with Team Jensen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of On Air, the art of industrial real estate with Team Jensen. Today we have Nick Paradise here with us with Frog Furnishings. And Nick, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Of course.
Thanks for
Glad
being
to be
here.
Yeah.
Excited to kind of dive into some of the things you're doing and also just hear a little bit more about your background and how you landed with Frog Furnishings. So just jumping into things, you're a KC guy. Are you from the Olathe area originally?
Overland Park, born and
Overland Park?
raised.
Okay, cool,
Yep.
cool. And Frog Furnishings, that's something you started, but I think peeling back further, I think you started out working at Jayhawk Plastics, if that sounds right. You want to dive into kind of how your career started in the plastics world and kind of what interests you and kind of how you ended up with Frog Furnishings in front of you.
Yeah, it all started with the movie The Graduate,
Yeah?
which I probably date myself there. It really started with my dad and my uncle, but my dad was watching the movie, and I think it's Dustin Hoffman says, the future is plastics. And my dad said, I got to get into plastics. I got to do something with plastics. He left college. I won't say why or how, but I think ultimately he knew he wanted to make some money. And so he had worked for an envelope company and came up with a product for the printing industry, a plastic product. And he started manufacturing that and shipping out of his home in Leawood, Kansas.
No kidding.
Okay.
Huh?
And,
So out of the garage kind of thing?
out of the garage, out of the basement type thing.
Yeah.
He's still with the envelope group when he was doing that?
He was, and his
Okay.
boss, my dad was their accountant, CFO type. And he said, hey, I think I can save us some money. I got this product idea for what we're doing here. And his boss was like, cool, run with it. And then my dad was like, well, I'd like to sell this to other envelope companies. And
Yeah.
if that's okay with you. And he was fine with it. So
That's cool.
yeah, he pursued that. And then at some point brought my uncle on, I think when he graduated from K-State. And then they got a little 5,000 square foot facility not too far from here. And they started Jayhawk Plastics, and they started shipping that product and then getting into other products and basically started manufacturing plastic and steel machine parts for the printing industry.
Okay.
They just celebrated 50 years on July 3rd of this year.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Very
very cool.
Yeah.
But in the kind of late 90s, they started pioneering with recycled plastic. My uncle Jim he had the idea, and they bought some machinery and started making some plastic, some recycled plastic lumber, and decided to make some furniture out of it. And I think they sold like 10 bright yellow tables down in like Gainesville, Florida. I think was their first order. And my dad and uncle still talk about it. They brought this order out to the floor, and their plant manager at the time was like, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing this. We're not getting into it. This is too many parts. This isn't what we do. And he kept pushing back, and my uncle and my dad kept saying, no, we're going to do it. And eventually they built the tables and sent them down, and the rest is history. We've been in business 23 years now, making outdoor furniture out of recycled plastic.
That's crazy. So how much did they run into, like, because in the early days of plastic usage, obviously plastic has changed and developed over time. Now the water bottles say, this has been used with 50% less plastic, and you hear about all the trash in the oceans and all that. How much like EPA hoops and things like that did they have to jump through over the decades long, just to make sure things were I know you said you recycled plastics, but initially they probably were sourcing things and probably had to figure out, things to all the compliance things.
Yeah, there was certainly compliance. I'm sure they dealt with early on. The biggest thing from the environmental standpoint is, what are you doing inside your plant that could be harmful to the environment?
Okay.
And we check all the boxes and, run a clean operation and
Right.
filtering our water, no runoff, no chemicals, leaching, all that. In fact, we're doing an environmental hygiene study at the plant today, I think. So
Nice.
yeah, we're really on top of that, and it's a difficult industry to be in. There's not a lot of people that do what we do, because it really is kind of an art,
Yeah.
more so than just buying a machine and pumping some plastic into it.
Right.
So
Well, and so now your personal career, did you spend much time at Jayhawk Plastics before Frog Furnishings, or how did you kind of go about, learning the craft and all that and getting plugged in?
I had an office in their original, well, not their original, their second building, which is where they're still at today. When I was 6, I had my own office. No joke.
Yeah.
I shared it with the accountant who was still with us up
Okay.
until a couple of years ago, but I'm sure she loved having me in there.
Right.
But, me and my cousins and my brothers and sisters, we were always, out at the office, climbing in the rafters. Probably shouldn't have been,
was
I'm sure the
a
employees
family
just loved
affair.
it. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
think
it's
you
like
guys
we
were saying earlier. Yeah.
You asked us how long we've been in this building. I was like, well, we used to sell Boy Scout popcorn.
Yeah, there you
here
go,
when our dad was
exactly.
working here, so we've been here a while.
Yeah, I was probably instructed not to try to sell anything to the employees because I would have. So, but I mean, I worked in the printing side of the business. So Jayhawk Plastics, I worked in sales, I worked in customer service, I worked out in the plant, and then when we started the furniture business, that was in 2000. So I was still in college, and my dad told me if I wanted to work for him, learn the business, take it over someday, I needed to go get a real job when I graduated college, go work for someone else, learn what that feels like.
Right.
And so I did what any good son would do, and I got a job as the national sales manager for a spring break travel company in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And so when I graduated in 06, let's see, I guess, no, we started in 2000, so I was in high school then. But yeah, in 06, graduated from Colorado State and moved down to Fort Lauderdale. My dad was not happy.
Not the real job he
No,
had.
this is not what I had in mind. What do you mean you're going to Acapulco, Mexico for 6 weeks? Like, Dad, this is international business.
I'm just doing what my boss is telling me
Yeah.
to do.
So, so I worked down in Florida for a few years. I actually learned a ton from a couple young guys that were the Davids in the industry going against the Goliaths, and so I actually learned probably a lot of my selling techniques through those guys, and what it means to like really have to actively sell and put yourself out there and go door to door, and it was tough, but I enjoyed it. I had some fun, and then my dad was like, "It's time to come home," so I came back 14 years ago, and started off at Frog in a sales position. And then my cousin who was running it left, and so I kind of got thrust into the general manager, sales manager role pretty early, and I've been there since.
So when was the transition on the name from Jayhawk to Frog?
We rebranded, let's see, I think it was about 8 years ago. We used to go to trade shows, and you can appreciate this as a Mizzou grad.
Yeah.
And, we'd be at like the Kansas Park and Rec show, or no, the Missouri Park and Rec show, and someone would come by our booth and be like, Jayhawk Plastics. I'm not buying furniture from you guys, The Tigers are just mean, man. So,
Yeah, Jayhawks made us that way.
Right? That's right. So we were becoming kind of well-known enough in North America, really, that we decided we needed a new brand.
Yeah, a little more neutral.
Neutral.
Yeah.
We're a fun group. We're a family business. Frogs are, there's not a lot of people who don't like frogs.
Right.
That's what
They're
I found,
my favorite
at least.
growing up, those and turtles.
There you go. So it's been a really good brand for us, and really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Well, and so we've been through your plan. It's an awesome setup that you guys have there. But do you, just from a basic standpoint for our listeners, do you want to go through kind of how the process works of actually putting together the furniture? And I know you've branched out quite a bit, but you really still stick to mainly the picnic tables that we see often, right? And benches and things like that.
Yep. Yeah, we do park benches, picnic tables, trash receptacles, bike racks, message centers. We do Adirondack furniture. So
Yeah, that stuff was sweet.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. And basically we've got a couple suppliers that send us the plastic. It comes in kind of pelletized, and we heat it up, funnel it down into our machines, push it through the heat chambers with a giant screw.
How hot
It
do you
gets
have
like
to get it?
350, 400 degrees.
Okay.
And then it turns the the hard plastic pellets into kind of like a molten.
Right. I remember seeing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we push it through the machines. We shape it to whatever size.
Is that like injection molding? Is that what that is, or is that
It's called extrusion.
extrusion?
And so yeah, we're pushing it from the head of the line down to the end. It's 80 feet long or so, and basically just forming that molten into a hardened profile 2x4, 2x10, 3x4,
Right.
something like
Just
that.
various.
Yeah, that's the
various
cool part.
templates,
It comes out looking like a true plank of wood,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah, it's great, and we can color it however we want. We can cut it to whatever length we want.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever you have to reheat it to bend it or shape it or anything, or is everything pretty flat?
Everything's flat and straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw, you guys did brand some things when we were there. Is that, and I think we talked about it briefly, but is that something you guys see as an opportunity to grow business, or is that really not kind of what you see as your bread and butter?
It's definitely not our bread and butter, but there's a good market for it.
Yeah.
More custom. Is that what
Right,
you're
more
saying?
customized stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we'll do logos for companies, in the top of a table plank, or a city that wants to do a memorial bench for someone, or we've got a city that likes showcasing that they're green, and so they've actually had us engrave into the plank made from recycled plastic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people sitting on it know the city's green, and
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just an extra message. Just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
for sure.
Nice. Well, jumping out kind of the work life, the family life. I know you've got your hands full there, like Stuart does with a young
Yes.
family, and so.
Yeah, we envy you now, man.
The
Single
grass
golf
grass
life.
is always greener, Yeah. Well, I'm still a 23 handicap, like we were just.
Well, there you go. Yeah, you gotta play a lot more golf.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm working on it. But as far where'd you meet your wife, and kind of the story there? Is she a Kansas City gal herself? And
Yeah, we grew up not far from each other. I was 119th in Quivira. She was 147th in Quivira.
okay,
I never met her, never ran into her, never knew her. She's 4 years younger than me, so there's part of that that
Right,
plays into
right.
it. But we have so many mutual friends. She's got older brothers. It's crazy that we actually never met, and probably a good thing that we didn't until we
At
did.
the time.
Yeah, she and I joke about that a lot, but we also know that we're being truthful. I mean, it's a good thing,
Post Florida, Nick. was-
Exactly. Well, I needed to readjust, get my life in order. We actually met through her cousin, and he and I didn't really like each other very much. Long story there, but we made amends later in life. Ended up, out at the bar one night throwing darts. Became good friends. He invited me to his lake house. I was in his wedding. Eventually, he said, "You got to meet my cousin Maddie."
Yeah.
You guys hit
Rest
it
is
off,
history. Huh?
and we did. Yeah. So.
there you
Cool.
go.
Cool.
There you go. Well, and as far as kind of Kansas City, you went to Colorado State, but I assume you're a Jayhawk with the
I am a
Jayhawk.
Jayhawk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, was your dad a KU grad? Is that kind of where it started, or just local?
He was a KU student.
Okay. Oh yeah. You said as much. I wasn't trying to go back for the second dig.
Sorry, Dad. I love you, Dad. No, so actually, he and my uncle flipped a coin. My uncle went to K-State. My dad went to KU. They flipped a coin. My dad won. Could have been Wildcat Plastics. I might not be sitting
Were they
here.
twins?
No,
Or are they
they
just
are
close?
a few years apart. They're
Okay.
like best buddies.
Yeah.
You won't ever find business partners like them anywhere. I've never met anyone who's. I mean, they've had maybe 2 disagreements
Yeah.
their whole life.
That's cool.
Their
That is
rule in
cool.
business was if we both don't say yes, the answer is no. So
Yeah.
they kind of they ran their business that way, and it worked.
It's a good,
That wouldn't work
good,
for,
good balance.
it would not
Yeah.
work for a lot of people.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Certainly not me and my brother.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. I don't
A
know.
lot of hard-headed.
Either of my
yes.
brothers, really. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fun working with family though. What would you say? I think you're more actively involved, obviously, than your dad is today. But how would you say, how has that transition been as far as starting out with your dad and now kind of taking on more of a role as he's getting later in his career?
Yeah, so we actually sold the furniture business 2.5 years ago to a company called Playcore. They're out of Chattanooga, and they own 44 brands now, I think, all in the playground and outdoor recreation space.
Okay.
I stayed on to run it for 2 years. They liked me, I liked them, so I'm still here, still running it. so my dad transitioned out of that business, 2.5 years ago. He and my uncle still run Jayhawk, which is about a mile up the road.
Right.
And the transition has been nice. I loved working for my dad and my uncle. I was the only sibling or nephew or whatever that stuck around as long as I did. But it's been a nice change. I mean, my dad and uncle will both admit that they probably couldn't teach me all the things I'm now learning working for Playcore.
Yeah.
And it's been a nice transition, and I've really enjoyed the new ownership.
Has that Playcore, I mean, a national brand, I mean, has that given you any additional reach that you maybe didn't have before, or
Absolutely.
opened up new
I'm
avenues?
sure like buying power with suppliers is better, I would imagine.
It's much better. What I really like about them is they don't force you into a supply chain.
Yeah.
They don't. We work with United Office Products locally, and they didn't say you can't buy your office supplies from them. Now we have this contract, with a large national brand, and if you want to use that, you can. They've been a really good partner in that, not forcing our hand.
They give you the freedom to make some of your own decisions like that. Yeah.
So that's been really nice. And certainly there are loads of professionalism and information and a lot of support. I mean, I've got, a handful of people I can call on a dime if I'm in a pinch or need something.
So they really feel like an ally. That's not,
yeah.
They're not strong-arming you on things.
No, they've been great.
Yeah, that's
They've been really great.
How, what were some of your guys' challenges, speaking to 2.5, 3 years ago, how did some of the COVID stuff impact your guys' business? Obviously, maybe it was a boom because everyone's trying to get outside.
It was. Yeah, you're right on. It was.
Did any of the supply chain constraints hurt you guys with plastics and stuff like that?
We had issues there for sure. We have one of our really good raw material suppliers for plastic. I was talking with him a couple weeks before everything kind of went down with COVID.
Right.
And I can't even really, I could feel the economy kind of tightening up a little. I'd heard about this COVID thing might affect the Super Bowl, and I asked him if there was anything we could do to lock in pricing if we signed like a year contract.
Yeah.
And you pay a little bit more for that, but he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we locked in some guaranteed plastic.
Even before it hit the fan in March.
I'm telling you, like 2 weeks before.
That's awesome.
And so there was a lot of material allocation. You can only get 50% of what you normally buy, and we luckily had a guaranteed supply. Never ran out.
That's
not
huge.
Once.
Wow.
Now, and we control most of our inputs. We make probably 90% of what's in our plant right there in Olathe.
Right.
So what really hurt us was having to shut down the plant for 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got backed up there, and then, as you said, everything moved outside, and so we've got schools, businesses, everyone calling us, say, we need picnic tables, we need benches,
need,
the park is important.
You guys probably couldn't build fast enough.
We couldn't. It took us about a year and a half, about a year and a half to dig ourselves out. We're used to shipping everything in 2 days or less, and we went to shipping in like 12 to 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Luckily, misery loves company. I mean, everyone was in the same boat. So, but it was a really hard thing for us because for years we had kind of positioned ourselves to be the Amazon of outdoor furniture in recycled plastic, and we could ship anything in our catalog in really a day.
That's cool.
No matter what part of the year.
Yeah. Are you getting back to that?
We are.
Now things are more normal.
Definitely more normalized. We're shipping about 15 to 20 SKUs, our most popular stuff, in 2 days or less right now.
Yeah.
Everything else is 4 to 6 weeks, and it's probably faster than that, honestly. But
Yeah.
I would say we're definitely caught back up, and things are humming again.
Yeah. Do you see the next 5, 10 years? Do you kind of see the long-term view staying the course with what we've been seeing, or kind of, if you had a crystal ball, what do you see kind of happening in your world with a lot of like the need and demand there?
I think that COVID definitely put a spotlight on the importance of being outside and being active, and so I think that trend will continue. The data that Playcore pulls, and they pull a lot of it, I mean, they really track this stuff, says that outdoor play and outdoor spaces are going to continue to be, important. And so I think the trend there is good. I think the boom that we've experienced is over.
Right.
I think things will get back to more normal kind of cycles.
Still healthy. Yeah.
Still healthy for sure.
That's kind of what we feel about the industrial market in general, quite frankly. So
Yeah.
that's kind of on point with what we see. Yeah.
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, I was going to say the same thing, and not just in more aspects than one. But COVID goes away, but you still see outside dining that hasn't gone back inside. You still see,
Right.
I mean, people are still wanting that experience and wanting to be outside, and I mean, it really has pushed people towards that. So I would imagine that business will stay strong. I mean, there were some silver linings to COVID. I won't say
We were in a pandemic-proof business, just kind of lucky. And we also had been positioning our business in a way that we handled it, as well as we could have. In fact, when we shut down, we had employees. I had employees texting me asking if they could go back to work.
Right.
Once you were able to, and we were actually deemed an essential business because we pivoted at one point, started making the intubator boxes to protect the patient and the doctor from getting
Gotcha.
sprayed on.
Oh,
Gotcha.
And so we were allowed to kind of fire back up, and I had, some of my long-standing 30-year employees that just loved being in the plant, and they were out there. We kind of ran a skeleton crew for a little while, and then slowly kind of worked people back in. We were really smart about how we did it and methodical, and it was, everything worked out how it was supposed to.
But that didn't generate like a new product niche for you, or
No,
anything?
we thought that it might, and it was short-lived.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff with the pandemic demand was, but, to your point, I think there's pretty healthy demand there. And I think also the pandemic I think finally we've reached, and of course we're sitting here doing a podcast, but I do think we finally reached a point where the importance of being outside and doing things versus just being on social media and things of that nature I think people are starting to realize the long-term effects it has on kids and stuff. And so I think the demand's going to be there for sure.
And people, you could tell, even in 2021, a year removed, it's still some people are still a little uneasy. It really wasn't until last year that it felt a little bit more normal.
Right.
But you could tell so quickly that people were missing the face-to-face, interaction and craving something like this.
Right.
When the airlines lifted the mask rule, I was actually traveling, and it was kind of interesting because when I left for the trip, it was masks.
It was required,
and as I'm traveling, like day of, the mask mandate left, and 95% of the people weren't wearing them. It's like,
Right.
okay, I think everyone was ready to
Yeah.
take their masks off.
Right.
No kidding.
Especially on the plane. It's just so uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, so obviously your family has a very entrepreneurial background. As far as what you see going on in South Kent, and really kind of out south of town, near your neck of the woods, there's a ton of development going on at, with all the, Blue Hawks out there. Prairie Fire's been out there for a while now. I'm probably leaving a couple off my list, but kind of what do you see growing out there, and what do you see as the future for, that South Johnson County area here in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I'm at 159th and Null. So I've seen the Prairie Fire development come to fruition, and then you added Chicken and Pickle in, which, I think that development maybe was not, I wouldn't say struggling, but was, just kind of just doing okay. I don't think it blew it out of the water maybe like they thought, and I think Chicken and Pickle really brought.
Was Chicken and Pickle like 2 years following that initial development of Prairie
I think
Fire?
it was.
Or you think it's more than
I think
that?
it was more than that.
Prairie Fire's been out there for a while.
Has it been out there long?
Yeah. I mean,
Because I kind of agree. Like I didn't get out to Prairie Fire very often, and now I've been out there a dozen times in the last couple of years because it's Chicken and Pickle.
Yeah, Chicken and Pickle.
I want to say Prairie Fire maybe even started getting going like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
that's
so,
about right.
yeah.
They have the museum, the kids museum or whatever there that's cool, and the movie theater, and it's a great spot. I mean, I think it's great. but yeah, Chicken and Pickle drove all this new traffic to it.
A lot of foot traffic there. Yeah.
And then you've got Blue Hawk, of course, that I think that's going to be a really good spot. It's crazy because I think 135th used to be like really far south for me.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
growing up on 119th, it was like no one. If you went to 151st, like you're really like,
You're
what are
a-
you doing out
yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to work at Jayhawk, but you know that was about it.
right.
And now it's like 159th is like kind of the normal. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and
Well,
I'm
and
sure more is being developed out
And
past
the
that. That
expansion of 69 Highway,
Yeah.
you know, that'll only increase traffic down there and development down there. I mean, yeah, it's the KC Metro is stretching for sure.
It's all
for
good.
sure.
It's all good for everyone. You know, you said what do I see in 5 to 10 years? I mean, the proof is in what we're seeing now. You know,
Yeah.
that the development's going to continue to come south, and I think it's being done for the most part pretty well. You know, I don't want to see too many more apartment buildings.
Right.
You know, when you think of Johnson County or Overland Park, you know, to me it's more like families and all that, and
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, like, you know, that Lenexa City Center, you see all those apartments and some, I don't know if it's multifamily or whatnot, but I mean, when I used to work out there too, I mean, we grew up playing baseball out at 3 and 2 out
Yeah.
there. You know, when 87th, you'd take 87th all the way out, and there was nothing but the
Nothing.
ball fields out
Oh
there.
yeah. I
And
mean,
now,
even
now it's a whole,
crazy.
and when those things were going up, I was just like, God, I mean, are they filling this stuff?
Yeah,
But they're
they
building
are.
more. I mean,
Right.
I guess they're.
that city center that's beautiful. They did
It
really-
is.
Oh, they did a
They
great
really
job.
nice
It
job.
is. And what's the? There's a cool golf course out there too that used to be the old driving range and the batting cages that were across the
Oh really?
street.
Okay.
Something
I think-
Canyon Farms, I think.
Well, I
it's
think
called.
the course was always there, but they probably
Yeah, maybe so. I'm sure
I'm
freshening
sure
it.
their values increased and they maybe had
Right.
some extra funds. To,
Right. But
freshen
yeah, I
things
mean,
up,
it's little communities like that all over the I-35 corridor that just continue to blow and continue to stretch the KC Metro. It is, and now you got, you know, obviously all the DeSoto stuff going on with
Yeah.
Panasonic, and I mean that community is going to explode here in the next 5 years. I mean, there's a lot going on everywhere.
yeah.
Plus the sports have helped put us on the map too a little
Oh
bit.
yeah,
you know.
without a doubt.
Yeah, we were
Without a
talking
doubt.
Obviously
about
what the Chiefs are doing, and then you know some people call us a soccer capital of the U.S. or whatever, and getting the World Cup,
That's
and I mean
huge.
it's crazy.
Yeah, I think I'm convinced the city is going to be fairly unrecognizable by the time the cup's come and gone, in a good way, I
Yeah.
think. But
Yeah.
because I think, you know, I just think it's going to bring a ton of activity and a ton of highlight and attention, and I think it's going to be I think we're primed and ready for it too. So I
Yeah.
think we'll hold the stage down well, I think. But yeah, jump into sports. I've got to admit, you've got a pretty sweet Patrick Mahomes jersey. I'm jealous of.
I got a few of them.
Yeah. And do you go to a lot of games? I mean, you're obviously a big fan. Are you a Royals fan too, or mainly
Yeah,
Chiefs?
I love
or?
all our sports.
Yeah.
I'm a sport fanatic. I love the Chiefs. Always have. I used to have season tickets, and we started. You know, I think we got rid of them the year before we got Patrick. So that was
Yeah.
maybe a misstep. But we always go to the home opener, and then we pick a couple other games, and we've been to all the playoff games and
Yeah.
a couple of the Super Bowls, and
Right.
both of them we won. So I think I got to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
You
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun watching Kansas City get the exposure I think it deserves. It's a great city.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
Patrick finally forced the national media to talk about us a little bit.
Right?
Oh yeah.
he
Hey,
did.
we really were always kind of the redheaded stepchild.
Well, we were always, you know, we were the regular season team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're 10-3, but
Well, and don't
they're-
even get me
yeah.
started. Like when the Royals were in the World Series in '14, and Joe Buck just acted like we were just
Oh, he did not
lucky
like
to even
us.
be there,
Yeah.
and it was so
Which,
aggravating.
In hindsight, maybe.
Hey, we went. Yeah.
maybe we were.
Hey, I don't know if you're lucky to be there if you turn around and
No, you're
go
right.
run the table the
The
next year.
That's
You're
right.
right.
So
You're right. Yeah.
we were proven. But no, well, are you going to just staying on sports? But I'm looking at going to the Packers game at Lambeau. Do you have any like stadiums like that you try and get to for a visiting or away game?
I was supposed to go to the new Vegas.
I've heard that's awesome.
I was supposed to go there for the first year, and it didn't work out. My brother wants to treat me to the game in Germany this year
Yeah.
for my 40th.
I heard those tickets went pretty quick as soon
Yeah.
as they hit the market.
I think he's second guessing that birthday gift. I think I get him like a T-shirt every year. So
Is that in October?
I think so. No, I think it's November. I don't know.
Okay. Because if you could go for Oktoberfest and then
Oh,
go
it's
to the game.
I think
yeah.
it's like the first week in November, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So might do that. I don't have any, with a 2-year-old and a almost 5-year-old, getting any time away is
Right.
tough.
Not to
Right.
mention
It's hard
across the pond. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's even more difficult.
It's hard enough to get away for a weekend, but a big trip like that.
Is the 5-year-old in any soccer or anything?
He did like soccer a year ago, and it didn't go well. He was like more interested in like people flying kites on the field over. So I was like, no, I'm not wasting my Saturdays yet if I don't have to.
I thought you were out there, yelling at kids and pushing people around.
No, that won't be
Hey,
for a
let's
couple
go.
of years. No, I used to actually ref soccer when I was like 14.
Did you?
I would ref like 5 and 6-year-old soccer, and I remember parents like screaming at me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
Oh,
like
yeah.
13 or 14 or whatever I was.
There's a
I'm like,
reason that
I would
there's-
red card them. I'd kick them out.
There's a reason there's a ref shortage
Yeah.
in all youth
Oh,
sports
yeah, for
because
sure. Oh, yeah,
parents are just
It's not the most envied job.
They
Like,
can't get out.
relax.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be okay.
Right. Well, and so were you a soccer player? Was that your sport growing up, or?
I did play soccer. I played just about everything.
Yeah.
Track and field was my go-to.
Okay, cool.
I was.
Were you a Aquinas?
I went to Rockhurst.
Oh, you said that.
Yep. I was varsity letterman all 4 years.
Cool.
I was pretty fast, and I had some spring in my feet.
Yeah.
I was short, but I could high jump and long jump and
Yeah.
pole vault and
Nice.
anything I could do to not have to run or practice sprinting or
Right.
running distance.
Conditioning,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, field events.
Let me just jump over
Yeah,
here.
I'll just be over here jumping. I don't even know if we had an actual jumps coach my senior year. I think I was the coach. I don't know. I can't even remember. Sorry, Coach Baker. I think you actually might have been. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Our dad always has said anything over 5'8's just showing off.
Yeah.
and he was a jumper in high school, I think, too. He always at least used to act like he could jump his height, which I still don't know if I believe that, but we'll never know.
I jumped, let's see, in 8th grade, or 6th or 8th grade, I went to the Junior Olympics, and I was short, and I jumped about 8 inches over my height
Yeah.
and took second, and on the podium, the third place guy was standing taller than I was. And I would have guys come over and make me stand under the bar I cleared, and they'd stand next to me and take pictures because I couldn't believe it.
That's cool.
It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those are fun times, and certainly stuff. We have a lot of fond memories of our dad coaching us and playing baseball and going up. Growing up playing and going all over town to play tournaments and stuff over the weekend. So I look forward to those days where you're out on the ball field for 6 hours on Sunday. But
Can't wait.
yeah, they'll come fast enough. But yeah, fond memories for sure.
Yeah. Well, as far as the rest of the year, do you have any big summer trips coming up before? I guess your kids probably aren't quite in school yet. Is the 5-year-old starting kindergarten or?
He's pre-K.
Pre-K.
He starts in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Our 2.5-year-old will start. It's kind of school, it's not daycare, it's school. I mean, they work with them and teach him stuff, and so he'll do a couple days a week. I'm traveling for work from here till the end of the year, almost every month, at least a couple times.
Where does work take you?
Kind of all over. I've got trips to New York, New Jersey, Memphis, Dallas planned. I've been all over this year, traveling more than ever.
Is that meeting with suppliers or customers? Or
Customers.
Customers.
Yep, meeting with customers, doing trainings, working on promotional stuff, just shaking hands and
Right.
making sure that my customers are feeling taken care of.
Right.
Yeah, I love it though.
Yeah.
So, work related, I've got a lot coming up. I am going to Vegas with a buddy for a concert in October.
What concert?
It's the I can't remember. It's a punk rock alternative. So it's like 311,
Yeah.
Green Day.
Kind of vibe, yeah.
I think there's 50 bands, and they start at like 7 in the morning on Sunday, and they end at like midnight or 1. And each band plays for like 20 or 30 minutes.
That'd be cool.
And it's every band you've ever heard of in the punk alternative.
Yeah.
You know,
It's gonna be a long,
scene.
long day out there.
It is. I'm gonna enjoy it though.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Do you play guitar or anything yourself, or?
No, my buddy who I'm going with does. He's in a band here, Mikey Needleman Band.
Okay.
There you go, Mikey.
Cool.
Little plug for my best friend. We're going down to celebrate our 40th.
Sweet.
Oh, nice.
So
That'll
we're
be a
gonna
lot
do a couple days just gambling and concert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might even go dance in a club. Who knows?
Yeah. That'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have yet to make it to Vegas, which
Ah.
I've got a buddy who doesn't he doesn't let me forget. He's adamant we'll go one of these days.
Yeah,
but-
you should probably call me when you do that trip.
Yeah.
I'll make sure you have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, save up too. A Bud Light bottle is like $20.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any of your old Florida work connections down in Vegas or anything like that with the
I have one.
That's right. Okay. I figured some of those guys maybe made their way west.
It's actually pretty crazy how often that job, like I'll come into a connection with someone from that job, either someone I hired to sell trips on their campus or
Right.
someone who worked for us in some capacity. There's a guy who started it's called Brutal Buddha, and he makes yoga wear for men. It's really workout gear, and he sent me a pair of shorts and said, "Hey, would you try these out and see if you like them?" And so there's like all these little things,
Yeah.
all these little branches from that. Just even I was only down there 3 years, but Fort Lauderdale was a good time.
Yeah, well, and it's cool how like the unrelated network and connections can really benefit you in a different career. Like that, I jumped straight into working with Dan, and so this is what I've been doing for my career. But and I think there's benefits to getting started right away too.
Sure.
But Stuart had a different career path for a few years, and it's benefited him, a lot of the connections he has there, and it makes it a lot easier to get your foot in the door sometimes when you've got just an unbiased rapport with someone, and they know you're not just another sales guy banging on their door, but you're a human
Definitely.
being that they know already and like. So
Yeah.
Well, and just everything's built on solid relationships.
Right.
I mean, just having that rapport.
More
and-
so than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
especially in this day and age, when we're all so connected, and there's softwares out there that can give your cell phone number to anybody, and it's
Yeah.
just like, so it's just you sometimes don't know who's on the other line. It's just
Well, when you guys invited me to do this in person, I was excited because I've done some podcasts virtually.
Yeah.
You cannot beat in person. You can't beat, just being in the same room.
right.
I committed this year in our business. I said, I'm going to travel more this year than I have in a while. And
well, especially you haven't been able to. The last
exactly.
Few years,
There's a lot of companies who are like, we can save on travel and just do Zoom meetings, and that are still doing that. And
Right.
if that works for your business, great. I feel like I got to get out in front of my customers and be with them in the same room. And
Absolutely.
there's a big difference in doing business that way. Certainly, there's situations that make sense. Doing trainings virtually and stuff. But
Definitely.
I'm doing a lot of in-person trainings this
Yeah.
year that I haven't been able to for the last 3.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it.
Well, and you're always gonna, whether you're a salesman trying to dig up info or just make a connection, you're always gonna have more of that emotional connection with somebody face to face, or you're always going to, if you are looking for something, someone's always going to give you a little bit more, and if you're, having a cup of coffee across the table from them, than if
Right.
you're sitting there talking on the phone. They'll
Definitely.
give you a little nugget of information that you can take and run with, or
Yeah.
they'll just that personal connection goes a long way.
Yeah.
So
Well, we really appreciate you coming on with us, and I think best of luck with Frog Furnishing. I think you guys have a pretty awesome niche there going, and I see that. I don't see the park world slowing down anytime soon. So
Definitely not.
And recycled plastics is kind of what everyone wants to see nowadays. So, But really appreciate you coming on with us today and wish you nothing but the best. And yeah, that was officially episode 4 of On Air.
Yeah.
That was
The
a
Art
blast. I
Industrial
enjoyed
Thanks,
it.
Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.